Good morning. It's Pastor Mark McDonald again with First United Methodist Church of Batesville. We're going to take a different approach to our devotional and pause from some of the things we've been talking about to realize that tomorrow is the first Sunday of Advent. Now, Advent is a season of the liturgical year. A liturgy is the experience that we have when we follow readings and responsive readings and certain scriptures throughout the church year. It begins with Advent, which is the 4 Sundays before Christmas. And Advent is literally an anticipation or preparation for the coming of Christ. Now, that makes it twofold. One is that we prepare for the nativity, the birth of the Christ child. And so we will look at, over the next several weeks, some of the scriptures from the Old Testament as they were prophesying what God would do in the future when God would send the Messiah, how God would restore creation. But there's another aspect to the Advent that may be even more real to us now, and that is that we prepare for the second coming of Christ. The second coming of Christ in the biblical sense is where we talk about Christ's great return, what we refer to as the rapture. We think of with Revelation or Daniel or Mark 13, all these times of judgment. But really, it is about the fact that Jesus has promised to come back, and when he comes back, there will be a judgment, but there'll also be a reconciliation of all of creation. In a sense, if you look at the Bible, the whole story of the Bible begins with the Garden of Eden. And then sin comes and we fall from that, and we fall and return and fall and return over and over again. The promise of Revelation is that the intention of the Garden of Eden, God's creation, is restored in all of its fullness, and love and righteousness prevail. So Advent is the beginning of our church liturgical year. We lead up to Christmas, then we have some time of Christmas, and then it begins basically the Christ story and the story of faith throughout the ages. So the story from the first 4 weeks, first 4 Sundays of Advent until we reach the last Sunday of the church year, which would have been last Sunday, Christ the King Sunday, it's really the story of salvation. Specifically for us, the story of Jesus Christ, his life, death, resurrection, and promised return. So what I ask you to do is to think about the fact that normally when we come to Advent, we're excited because we're getting ready for the nativity. We're getting excited about presents and visits from family, but this year is going to be very different, isn't it? So in many ways, this idea of the second coming of Christ has some real teeth to us this year, because we are asking for God to help us through and deliver us from this time of separation and struggle, to give us a restoration, a hope. And that is what Advent is really about. Getting ready for the restoration, the reconciliation, the way that God is going to make all things new, make all things right. The beauty of the idea of Christ coming again is not just in telling the stories of the end times. It's about the fact that the kingdom of heaven is coming, but it's already here too. It is unfolding before us. So Advent is a time where we look for the signs of hope. No matter how much we may feel despair and separation, God is working all around us. So as we finish up our time of gratitude over Thanksgiving, let's prepare our hearts for worship tomorrow by continuing in that sense of gratitude and focusing on the hope that we see that God is already at work, putting an end to the struggles of our life and promising us life, love, and joy forevermore. And it's not just after we die. It starts today. Will you join me as we prepare for worship, for an Advent, a coming promise that God is alive? Christ is coming to bring us back into his presence. I hope you have a blessed day, and you are a blessing.